So today we're going to work through grabbing a user's assets and then token gating those assets. The experience could be something like I create an account and I could only access a special video or a chat room or a Discord invite or whatever if I have a token, an NFT. So we're going to implement this within Bubble 100% no code. So we're going to have 3 different buttons, and we're going to, for the sake of simplicity, we could just grab from the previous one, which we may do. I think I may go and do that this time. I'm going to copy the button from the freeze asset section, but you can also just create a new one. Oops. And then freeze asset. I'm going to have this one be called grab asset. We're also going to grab this section, which is a text element that we'll actually modify this slightly. Actually, we're just going to delete it all. So you can just create a new text element. And so within this text element, we're going to add some dynamic content. We're going to grab from the button asset grab, and we're going to have a new custom state called token gate. This state type is yes or no, and then it's going to be formatted as text. I think that's going to be pretty, yep, that's great. We're also going to have some more content. We're going to say assets owned. And then this is going to be button grab assets. We're going to create a new one called assets owned. Asset IDs owned. State type is going to be a list of numbers. We're going to create, and that's it. Perfect. So the thought process would be, we're going to first, let's just test this out. We're going to go to workflow. We're going to create a workflow here, add workflow. And so the first thing first, we're going to just use our first account, GAAQS. We're going to copy that. Then we're going to go to plugins. We're going to search up indexer, asset indexer on the testnet. The user ID is going to be your first account, and then your app ID is going to be your app. Perfect. Then we're going to set the state of the button. State of annulment. Annulment is button grab asset. The custom state will be the asset ID is owned, and then we're going to grab the result of step 1's user 1 assets. We're going to say each item's asset ID formatted as text. And then within each content to show per list item, well, actually, I think this is evaluated. I think we can just do each item's asset ID. Yep, that's exactly, I think that should be it. And then, well, let's just try this for now. We'll just give this one a whirl. And what this will do is this is going to grab all the assets someone has, and then it's going to render all of the different asset IDs a person owns. And then in the next section, we'll actually get fancy and we'll list it out as a group. Well, actually, we could do it this time too. We'll do it this time. We're gonna hit grab assets. And this is, oh, it doesn't have a enter. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna make sure that there's an enter in between the text here. There we go. But you can see for my account, I own these 5 assets. I own each of these NFTs that I've minted before. And if we go back there and we look, let's look at BT37, which is the first account here that I am working with. I have a grand total of 6 assets. The 6 that I own are Algorand for testnet, and then 5 others that I minted as I was testing this. So just like that, you can grab all of the assets that you own, that you own, and display them here. I'll repeat that. We're also going to do something special. What if you want to make sure that someone owns the asset that they own? And specifically, you've minted, say, 100 NFTs, you're selling them on your page, and you want to make sure that the person owns the NFT that you're selling in order to let them through. Well, how you would do that is you would go and add an action here, and you're going to set the state of an element if we're going to do grab assets token gate state, and that'll be yes if the result of step 1's user 1 assets, and we're going to say filtered, so we're going to filter through them. We're going to have a constraint that's asset ID, is equal to some arbitrary number or some arbitrary asset. So in this case, let's use the bubble NFT mint test that we made earlier. This is the previous one, and we're going to use that as a filter. So we're going to say, do they own this asset? And if so, we're going to sort by asset ID, and then we're going to say filtered. If we're filtering all of the user 1 assets, we're saying grab only the assets that match this asset ID, which is the NFT you want to filter, you want to token gate by. And then we're going to say if the count is greater than 0. Whoops. It should be 0. Count is greater than 0. Hold on. 0. There we go. So what is this saying? This is saying that result of step 1, which is the asset indexer. Let's grab all the assets that this end user owns. And we're going to say yes, they are allowed to access the token gated content if the result of step 1, which grabs all of the user 1 assets, we filtered to only allow the specific asset ID that we minted if the count is greater than 0, which means do they own this asset or have they opted in to this asset? If so, then yes, it'll be greater than 1 or greater than 0 because they'll have at least 1 instance of this asset ID in their inventory, in their index of user assets that they own. So in addition to the asset ID matching what you're looking for, you also want to make sure that the amount that is owned is greater than 0 as well. And the reason why this is important is it is possible for someone to have an asset ID within their inventory because they opted into it, but they don't actually own the asset. And so there's a chance that someone could have the asset owned and the amount is less than 0. So in this instance, what we're doing is we're saying, not only do you need to have the asset ID within your inventory, but you also have to own this asset. The asset amount has to be greater than 0. And if you own the asset, then we're good. And so those 2 filter constraints will allow you to control whether or not this value yes for token gate is allowed. We're going to also duplicate this. We're going to change this to no. Only when the filtered count is less than or equal to 0. And so that's the opposite of greater than, right? If you have a search in this case, and the count is anything greater than 0, then you know that it exists. But if it's 0 or if it's somehow less than, I don't know, you could really only just be 0. But this sign, this little operator is a less than or equal to. That includes the chance when it is 0. So that's the opposite of greater than, is less than or equal to. So we'll change this to there. We'll change this to say no. And the filtered thing basically says we're still searching for this asset. And so we're just going to connect. Cool. So now let's refresh the page and let's try this out now. What you should see is all the assets owned. And then because one of the assets owned matches the check, the token gate we're looking for, then it works. And we have successfully token gated the access, and this no should turn into a yes. And there it goes, exactly. So for your use case, what could you do? You could say, all right, I'm gonna mint an NFT, I'm gonna mint 100 of them. I'm gonna give them to all my friends or all of my end users, or maybe you need to be playing a game and you have to earn or buy an asset, which we're gonna show after this. We're gonna show you a marketplace and how to build the process of earning tokens and then buying something within this marketplace. And then now they come to this game, this app, this functionality, and they should only be able to use it if they have the token with the amount greater than 0. Then this should be yes, and then that should trigger some special logic on your page. And just like that, you have learned how to implement a token gated Web3 experience, no code, through Bubble and DropChain. If you have any questions and want to learn more about building your first Web3 app, check out the link below, join the Discord. I'm in there, my co-founders are in there, and we have a growing group of builders, a developer community, eager to help you build your first Web3 app. Thanks.